Ladies and gentlemen, the top right-hand corner of Metropolis. From karont3 Esports, it is Vortex. His opponent down here in the bottom right-hand corner. From Team Liquid, a lot on the line right now between these two teams, and he could end it so quickly, so shortly. It is Tasia.
Yeah, and
it's going to be a nerve-wracking game, Kevin.
The map is Metropolis. This is one of the maps that will drop out of our map pool very soon. We mentioned before that you guys are just tuning in because I know there's a lot of StarCraft stuff going on today. The Kingston $15,000 tournament has been very fun to watch. So, but in any case, I know our viewers are going up recently. We are changing significantly our map pool very soon. We've got 9 maps in, obviously, as we run best of 9s. We're going to probably drop 4 of those. The likely candidates being Abyssal City, Antigua Shipyard, Metropolis, and Atlanta Spaceship. And we're looking at some maps to replace those with. Likely candidates for those. We really like Amethyst. We really like Space Circuits. We really like Bifrost at the moment. So we're looking at a lot of different maps from all different leagues, from community map makers, things like that. But if you have any suggestions, maps you've really enjoyed watching lately, tweet those at us. I'm at Kevinaki, he is at Kibbles, and we'd certainly like to know your opinion.
Yeah, I'm really, really anxious, actually, because I feel like there's definitely got to be more content out there than from what we've managed to get our hands on. And, you know, you guys from all corners of the earth and all steps in life, you can let us know what we're missing out on.
All right, well, looks like, I mean, likely to be a 15 hatch into a 16 pool here for Vortex. We'll see if he switches anything up kind of a weird way. Tasia, though, command center first, and not really a surprise at this stage of the game. Looks like Vortex is going to try and harass a little bit, but Tasia immediately pulls an SUV to deal with that.
Yeah, and a little bit of dancing here, of course, but looks like actually the SUV is going to win this fight, so Vortex will have to fall back for the moment. And it's not going to be able to get too much done here against the CC first build.
Good control from Tasia there. I mean, of course, Vortex regenerates health, if very slowly, on that drone, so he can back it away for a little while and jump back in and try and snag the last couple of hits. But Tasia's just going to chase that down across the map. Now, Vortex is bypassing gas for now. He is a player who has been very fond of those 4/6 queen builds and starting to get that creep thread out nice and early. Tasia, on the other hand, goes for as barracks into gas after the command center first, and things are looking very normal for him.
Yeah, the builds will be somewhat stagnant here for just a moment, as, you know, of course, all the money has to wait to be kicked in. So I want to actually go back to, for a second, Kevin, you were talking about, you know, the SCV. How the SCV has a little bit more hit points, but it doesn't regen. And the drone, it regenerates hit points very slowly, but constantly.
Right.
And then you've got the probe, which, you know, has a portion of its hit points able to regen its shield, and it regens really fast, but it comes in like that. And
you have to wait a few seconds before it happens.
Yeah. So we got Heart of the Swarm coming up, you know, probably going to be talking to a lot of new friends about StarCraft and what race they want to play and stuff. And actually, one of the first things I was told in regards to StarCraft when I started playing back in, you know, on the CD that I burned off the original copy of StarCraft, which I lost. My friend Nick, he told me, you know, just about the workers. He was like, "Now, which worker would you want to play?" That's how I picked my race, man. I was like,
nice.
I want the Protoss. That shield thing seems really strategic.
Well, it is strong. You know, I mean, especially if units are micro correctly, sometimes you'll see players be really, really awesome about. They take the ones that have just lost their shields, not lost any of their permanent health. Especially this is good on Blink Stalkers. Blink them back one after another, so that by the time the front line of those units that did take damage before comes back up, they're already regenerating shields and stuff like that and haven't taken any permanent damage. Very cool stuff you can do with those.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it could be a little bit too over the top. I may or may not tell you that. No, I decided to not tell you.
Oh, now I've got to know. The world has to know.
Vortex, guys, is
the
just
world
going to be...
has to know. You
all right,
are not
Kevin,
going to avoid this
I was just really
question.
bad at Brood War because I focused all the time on the shields. I was just
Okay.
like, I hit with my army, my shields are out, retreat. I'm like, I could be like crushing him in a battle and he's like macroing insanely behind it. Of course, I didn't really know words like that back then, but like, I'm completely going to win, but I'm like, my shields are out, I need to fall back. And I had to game one, and then he like drops a nuke in my main base later, and I die, and all I cared about was my shields, man. That's all I ever focused on was my shields.
Oh, man.
I remembered seeing shuttle reavers once, so like that was just so fascinating to me because I could run around with my shuttle and just never let it take damage.
Yeah.
If my shuttle took damage, I'd replace it with a full health shuttle immediately.
What, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's amazing, though. You probably got really good at Shuttle Reaver Micro, though.
Well, as good as, you know...
Because you just want to protect any damage, so you're just like, get down, get back up, get down, get back up. Double Evolution Chamber followed the 4 gas that came up for Vortex. He's obviously going for 2 base layer now, has those 4 queens, so he can start that creep spread nice and early, but is going to wait a little bit until he actually puts down that third hatchery, but this is something he's very, very fond of.
But, you know, at the same time, Taja's build is not bad against this at all. Cloaked Banshee versus a late third makes it extremely difficult for Vortex to be able to get that hatchery actually down. But what he does have going in his favor is he's got an Overlord positioned over that third base, Kev, so he can actually drop creep there and build a Spore Crawler if he needs to. And
to build on this, of course, you know, Tasia ended up going for the delayed Cloak Banshee, which is especially cool. I want to see where that Overseer is actually at, because I don't know if it's popping up. It is popping up inside of the main. We'll see if it decides to duck anywhere, because it already sees the Banshee hanging overhead. And as soon as actually Tasia saw that, he decides to switch over to mech and cancel his Cloak.
Yeah, pretty intelligent move there. Out of Tasia, going to be able to switch directions rapidly here. Queen getting pretty low, and a nice transfuse. Going to save it. I would fall back with that Queen. That's got very high energy. Definitely don't want to waste that. Vortex is going to try to do exactly that as Roaches are coming out on the field.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to push this back pretty easily. In fact, Tasia reacting a little bit slow. He may have been trying to put some stuff down back at home. Looks like he was dropping down an engineering bay, things like that. I mean, obviously, he sees Roaches, but whenever it gets to this stage in the game and you know your opponent's on 2 base, the threat of Mutas always does kind of lurk. So get that engineering bay down and start getting up some missile turrets.
It looks like that's actually what this Banshee's here for. It just wants to find these Roaches, but unfortunately, or the Spire, but it's going to get taken out, in fact.
Yeah, and we see an infestation pit getting put down now. So Vortex very aggressively going up through his tech tree. He's going to have enough resources in the relative near future to be able to put up that third hatchery if he so desires, and indeed he has right now.
Oh, this is so cool. Vortex may... actually, there's almost nothing here. He's going to potentially do a ton of damage. Takes out the supply depot. Now we're going to see him start taking out some SCVs. He's going to get in significant economic damage. A tank hits the field, but there's no siege tech. There's nothing here for Tasia. He has almost no way to deal with this. Only a single Marine in that bunker. The Roach is pretty much ignoring that like flea bites. And now working his way up the ramp. Oh man, Tasia is taking some heavy damage.
This is crazy to me because like this whole game has just felt super delayed. We had Banshees come out about 2 or 3 minutes later than they normally do. And then a big Roach push against a Terran player about 5 minutes than is later than normal. So, and this is going to end up working. I mean, Vortex has done a lot of damage. He's taking some losses in these Roaches, yes, but he's already killed 36 workers. Are you kidding me? His opponent down to just 22 SCVs. Now, of course, Tasia does have 3 command centers, but 22 SCV production or 22 SCV economy is not enough to support 3 factory mech.
That's just funny. You have to make sure to mention that though, because it means that Tasia is not out of this game. And, you know, Vortex at the same time, guys, he has opted to take his third base now. He's tacked a lot, as you said, Kev, you know, going for that quick infestation pit. He's now working actually on melee upgrades. And his drops, he's getting ventral sacks. So we could see the implementation of some Zerglings here. And, I mean, Ling drops with Roaches on mech.
Yeah.
Pretty scary stuff.
I think Ling drops just in general against mech are undervalued because so often a Terran player is just going to siege up here, protect 3 bases kind of a deal, you know, keep their very immobile army locked down, and just a couple Overlords, 16 Lings pop in. They can usually sneak away with 10 or 12 SCV kills before they're reacted to.
Yeah, completely right. Hellions, you don't really need a reaction. The units were already kind of in place, and a little bit of a throwaway there for Tasia. Now going to be falling back with those Hellions. The creep spread here from Vortex could be slightly better. That's something we could admit to him, but Tasia did a very good job of denying that in the early game with those Hellions, and I think Vortex just wanted to play it on the safe route, because we saw, you know, that he had 3 Queens to fight like 4 Hellions, but he was like, no, I'm just going to camp.
Well, the Fungal Growth does manage to catch all of the Banshees, and one of them ended up dying. Looks like the Queen's not quite going to be able to finish off the other 2. Not a lot of damage suffered there by Vortex. He's only lost 2 workers his entire game compared to that 39 that he had killed before. And like we said, even with the triple SCV production for Tasia at the moment, he's still only just barely up to 39 SCVs now.
And the rocks are going to be taken out, opening up expansion options here for Tasia as things get a little bit safer. Nice snipe on the Changeling.
Yeah. He's like, wait a second, I don't have Marines right now. And then the the Banshee decides to fire upon its own Hellion there right afterwards, which I found kind of amusing.
Friendly fire is permitted apparently in StarCraft 2.
Well, Spire's now being added on, of course, as Vortex will want to move up. I mean, especially on this map into Broodlord play.
Yeah.
You know, this is a map that tends to stabilize in late game TVZ. You tend to go for a very long period of time. Eventually, you have a very large Broodlord army amassed, and then if you're Gumiho or if you're MVP, you go back into about 28 starports and start building as many Ravens as you possibly can.
Yeah, Gumiho's late game on this map is so cool. We casted him at IPL 5, and he actually took both the island expansions, was on 7 bases. It was pretty crazy stuff. Somehow he lost that game, and I didn't really understand.
Well, for now, though, Ravens are already being added on. And we always used to say, and this was before Seeker Missile was just included in the Raven and you had the upgrade to it, that it was good for utility and mech. That's a really nice fun growth.
Yeah.
That pins out a ton of Hellions. That's a big win for Vortex. But it used to be, it was always, oh, well, Ravens still add a lot of utility. They can stop corruptor shots, they can harass, they detect, they do a lot of things, you know? But now, they're actually just that much better.
Now they're just awesome. Went from being like, yeah, Ravens are good, to like, man, I would always want a Raven.
Yeah.
I want a Raven more than a Nintendo 64.
I kind of want the Nintendo 64.
Really, Kevin?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry.
Versus flying Raven.
Nintendo 64, man. Bring out that GoldenEye 64, the odd job one-hit kill chop. That's my favorite way to play.
I would love a Raven because you could go into a cafeteria, start a food fight, and then deploy your point defense drone.
Oh, well, that's just overpowered. So, sorry.
And subsequently win said food fight. Nobody ever wins at food fights. I would win. I would officially win.
No, society wins when you have a food fight. Greater Spire, 9 Corruptors coming up now for Vortex. 5th hatchery is finished up, and he's starting to get his 9th and 10th gas, and we are truly starting to stabilize now. Tasia has mostly recovered. Oh, he's completely recovered on his economy. He's going to be up to 75 SEVs now, and that's a pretty good stopping point. It did delay him for quite a while, though, and allowed Vortex to get up to that Greater Spire much faster, which means that he is going to carry a bit of a tech and army advantage through this. Of course, he doesn't care about these Zerglings at all. He wants to force some fire on the siege tanks. If he kills 1 or 2, perfect. If not, well, okay, I've got units to make behind this.
Yeah. Much higher priorities here than those Lings. A couple of Banshees going to be swinging in right now to this top 12 o'clock expansion. We'll see if Vortex is going to sustain any damage here. He's got the Overseer in position, which is just very, very nice.
Oh, boy.
And these are some dead Banshees, Kevin.
That's right. Cloak's still not up, but Vortex still has that Overseer around just in case. Oh, God. And that morphs in 9 Broodlords out of those Corruptors immediately. This is a cool place to morph them, too. The Corruptors got up there. They did damage, but, of course, then he can swing through and start to focus the engagements here on this 5th base.
Yeah, and you know, the real cool thing here out of Vortex, I think, is that he has drops already. So if a base race does ensue, Vortex, he didn't spread his Overlords out that much. They're actually pretty together wherever they are on the minimap, but I know that they're not spread because there's not speckles everywhere. So this is going to work out great for him because if he's like, I need to evacuate, he can actually just pick his drones up, fly them over to Tasia's side of the map, and start a new home over in Tasia's old one.
Yep. But for now, Vortex is getting very close to that ultimate army that he wants. How many infestors does he have? 9. Well, that's a fair amount.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a huge amount, but
it's a good quantity to have versus mech.
Yeah, it's going to get the job done. It's going to sustain those Broodlords a little bit more and drop down those infested Tyrants as needed. So Vortex is positioning in the middle of the map at the same time that Tasia's trying to take the 6 over on the island here to the side.
I just remembered this about Vortex. He actually likes to... Actually, I'm not sure with another 5 Corruptors on the way. I could be wrong. But either way, we see some players, you know, they opt to go for lower Broodlord counts as actually Vortex is gearing up for his attack, but at home being engaged. But a lot of Queens accompanying these Broodlords, guys, so he's going to be able to transfuse all day long.
Okay, Seeker Missiles are available here, so if he can get one in the middle of forces, it'll be really nice, especially on top of those infestors, because there's a very nice spread of the Broodlords at the moment, and they have taken virtually no damage, and this is already pushing Tasia back. So Tasia has done some damage here to this top left-hand corner base, but it's going to be a while before those Hellions are able to actually take anything out.
But Tasia not able to engage this at all. He is taking that expansion on the corner, as you said, but he needs to worry about his home, his production here. Thor's Vikings, but not all that much anti-air here, in all honesty. He needs to land some sick Hunter Seeker missiles, and we can see actually Vortex trying to bait them out. on these Corruptors.
If he, that would actually still be pretty good for him, though, because if he can get him on the Corruptors, it does some damage, does some decent splash damage, actually, but you see how many Queens are behind this, and all those Corruptors are transfused back up to full almost immediately. This is incredible control so far from Vortex. All the while, these Broodlords, he's still got 8 of them, of the original 9 that he brought to this army, and he completely devastated everything that Tasia had. That was brilliant control there, and a really well, just a well-managed fight from Vortex.
Oh, and he's able to balance his units perfectly with these Queens. Sometimes he's transfusing the Broodlords, sometimes it's the Corruptors, and now he realizes, I've got a lot of Broodlords, but I need to keep them alive. So he brings his Corruptors home and throws down some transfuses on the Corruptors. But if he were low on Broodlords and there was a lot of Thor, he could transform the Broodlords, transfuse the Broodlords instead. Just really, really well played. And in fact, Tasia gonna drop out, folks. Vortex making it to 3-4.
Very nice. So Vortex taking the game back for karont3 Esports Club, and it took about another 10 minutes, but that game was won with the Roach attack before. The 2-base Roach attack that ended up popping up as he was going to Infestors, that's when the game was won. Tasia made a good run at getting back into it and things like that. Vortex played very passively until he had that giant Broodlord army, but he had that one for a while.
You saw the how behind on the curve, really, Tasia was on his composition because he still had tons of tanks, like lots of tanks. And ideally, Tasia would want to go for a timing attack right before Broodlords and lose some of those tanks. So it's like, hey, you got Broodlords on the way, I'm going to push out, my tanks are going to die, but then he couldn't.
Well, that is game number 7, and we have a very close set, actually. It's 3-4. Vortex has taken a game. Of course, he is karont3 Esports Club's last member, but he has to go through some great Team Liquid players still left. One of them coming in now. It's actually a Zerg player, Zenio.
This is going to be an exciting match for sure, guys. Things are very, very close here in game number 8. We are going to cut to a quick break, and we'll come back right with it. The map will be a little bit of a teaser. Whirlwind.